Culture, Arts and Heritage. The first item on the agenda today is to appoint the Chairman of the Municipal Year 2025-26. Do I have a proposal, please? Councillor French?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Councillor Stanislav.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please?
Yes, I'll be happy to second that.
Thank you very much. Are there any other nominees? No? Okay. So therefore, I propose that Councillor Stanislav is appointed as the Chairman for Culture, Arts and Heritage for the municipal year 2025-26.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you. I will now move on to agenda item 2, and I call upon member services to report any apologies for absence, please.
Yes, we have 2 apologies, one from Councillor Foyce-Beard and one from Councillor Gill.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 3. The next item on the agenda is the appointment of the Vice Chairman for the municipal year 2025-26. I would like to nominate Councillor Barber. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor French, thank you. Any other nominations? Thank you. The proposal is therefore to appoint Councillor Brenda Barber as the Vice Chairman of the Culture, Arts and Heritage Committee for the municipal year 2025-26. Is that agreed? Councillor Barber is duly appointed. Agenda item 4. We are being asked to approve the public minutes at pages 3 to 10 of the public agenda pack as a correct record of the meeting which took place on the 4th of February 2025. Can I ask any member who does not agree with the minutes to indicate that now? I see no objections to the proposal to approve the minutes as a correct record of the meeting, so they are now agreed. Agenda item 5 is to report additional items for consideration which the Chairman deems urgent by virtue of special circumstances now to be specified. There are none.
Chairman, can I ask a question?
Councillor French.
Some of the minutes, I would like to ask some questions on these if possible.
Yes, please go ahead, Councillor French.
Page 4, where you were discussing the possibility of using Section 106 money. There is no way you can use Section 106 money for this. It is specifically for development, whether it be highway, education, public open space, National Health Service, etc. It is not a cultural function. I'd just like to highlight that. I did read in there that Carol was going to check that up. Is that correct, Carol?
Thank you, Councillor French. Battling with the aircraft overhead. It's really helpful to actually have that minuted, and I'll ask Carol if she would like to come in to respond to that. Thank you.
Yes, just to confirm, Councillor Mrs French is absolutely correct in that regard.
Thank you both. Councillor French.
Thank you. Yeah. There is a section in there with regard to council. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Councillor Hoy expressed concerns about the town council, and there was something in there to say that all town councils have been contacted. I can assure you March Town Council knows nothing about this.
Thank you. I might leave that for you to respond under the next agenda item, if that's okay. So the next agenda item, and then of course Councillor French, if you want to come in and discuss it then. So the next agenda item is, sorry, that will be under agenda item 7. The next agenda item is to receive any declarations of interest under the local code of conduct or any interest under the code of conduct on planning matters in respect of any items to be discussed at the meeting. If you have anything to declare, please can you inform the meeting now? No hands are raised, thank you. So now we move on to agenda item 7, which is the Creativity and Development Culture Officer update. Jamie Lee Taylor, would you like to present your update? Thank you.
Thank you, hello everybody. I will pick up on that point, it's just towards the end of my update, but I'll come back to that one if that's alright. So just to start initially with the roundup of the Amplifying Community Art and Culture project, which has now reached the end. So this was a project funded by the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, and the application itself was written way back in 2022. So we've been delivering it for the last 2 years, and it was held by the Combined Authority but managed through FDC. The project has been really significant, and until this point the largest project associated with the Fenland Cultural Strategy since it was adopted in 2021. The funding enabled the continuation of my role for a further 2 years, taking us until September of this year, and a range of local projects. Those have included, firstly, the Fenland Culture Fund, which I've spoken to this committee about lots. We've had 2 at that time, and were able to grant 35 of those successfully, for a combination of revenue and capital grants for the first time in that round. So we saw a total of £55,000 invested in round 2, following a similar but smaller round 1, which would have been the winter before, that was 42 applications in total, and 19 of those awarded successfully with a share of 34,000. It's been really well responded to. The process of setting up a micro grants pot with Arts Council has been sort of on the agenda, if you like, for a really long time, because it has been seen as a confidence building exercise in many ways, and an introduction for people that would unable to, not sure how to, or intimidated by larger applications. So we've seen that people have been successful with this and then been able to go on to larger applications, or felt that they've been able to combine them as well in some way. So it's definitely been kind of overwhelmingly popular and has worked very well. Moving on secondly to following the integrated care system funded project called Express Yourself, the Fenland Culture Partnership that I coordinate has a health and wellbeing subgroup, and within that they've just recently launched a new project called Express Yourself Art in a Box, which is happening in Whittlesea. It's designed to support people that are either experiencing isolation, maybe poor mental health or anxiety, or could be other factors that mean that usually they might not get out and about easily, or they might not be someone that can actively engage with workshops and activities out in the community. So we've worked with 6 local artists, and they've produced these series of free art boxes and a series of workshops that will go alongside them, with the aim really of integrating people with arts and culture, knowing the benefit that that can play into someone's mental health and their well-being, but also the idea of helping people reconnect and then get back together in a physical space. So the idea is that 180 of these boxes have been prepared, working through partners on the partnership. They've been distributed through the Jenner Health Centre, New Queen Street Surgery, the Food Bank, Phoenix Youth Club, other spaces like the community living room in Coates, and a few other areas similar to that, but also trying to kind of capture a broader range of community. So they might have a contact with someone, their social prescriber, for example. It might be a contact that they might have at the library that give them these boxes that they can take away, begin to get involved in a new type of art. But then later on, these workshops are going to be in person to actually get people then physically around a table, and hopefully that will be able to make a difference. So, like I say, 180 boxes have been funded. There are 9 workshops. Some of them have already started taking place this week, but they're happening right across the summer in venues in Whittlesea like Peel House and the Parish Hall at St Andrews. And through the kind of range of partners on that group that have worked together, we've been able to get them out to more places, and kind of hopefully we'll see as good a reaction as we had with the first iteration of this project, which was really defined on young people, which was very much about children and young people and didn't go into over 18s at all, whereas this one is kind of for all ages, anyone that could benefit from it. It might mean that we see some more of the older generation that might be a bit isolated, but it could really be for anyone. The only kind of definition of this project is that it is Whittlesea, and that kind of comes from the health group itself deciding to focus on an area and the member that had been involved in that subgroup previously. Okay, and then moving on to a series of professional training that we've made available. So again, funded by the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. Over the last few months, we've been running a combination of both online and in-person workshops. The idea for this was brought about by some research that we did last year for people that are either working or volunteering in arts, culture and heritage in the district. And essentially, there was clear need in that research that people either were struggling with communication and marketing skills, they didn't quite know how to do, or maybe they were volunteer with lots of different roles and it wasn't their specialism, and there might not have been anyone in that organisation that had those skills. So we wanted to be able to offer that kind of professional, high quality training for them to be able to showcase what it is that they do themselves in their own creative business or at a museum, for example. So we've now ran a combination, like I say, of online and in-person ones. We've experimented with holding them at different towns, different types of space, different times of the day and different days of the week to try and make it kind of more suitable for more people and learn a little bit from that as well when we've looked to put on more events. But where we have done one online one, we've also been able to capture it so that now exists. It's available on the website with thanks to our comms team so that people can go back to it and hopefully they'll be able to use it as a bit more of a resource and a tool that they can send the other volunteers from their museum, for example, to go and also learn from that and keep learning from it. So we've worked with industry leading specialists in each of the subjects and focused on social media and email marketing with the Arts Council's Digital Culture Network, understanding audiences with Indigo, and practical strategies for data and ticketing with Baker Richards. And I'll just move on to my final point now, and then I'll pick up the point from earlier. So this is an update on the Place Partnership Fund project. So when this committee was last together, we were still in a decision-making process, but Fenland has now been successful in its grant of £420,000 from Arts Council England. The full project itself is expected to be much larger, more in the region of 900,000, and that will be made up through partners' contributions, and also there are expected income and sponsorship targets for across the programme as well. Clarion Futures is the lead partner of that project, so they will be running it, but alongside a full consortium of 12 partners bringing together their own experience and expertise, art form specialisms as well, to deliver it together over the next 3 years. Interestingly, the project end date is the end of March 2028, and through the duration of those 3 years, we'll be focusing on enhanced cultural leadership development and improved infrastructure. So we hope to see skills, jobs, training, volunteering opportunities being made available, the creation of an emerging artist network, a focus on 16 to 30 age bracket, but also people that might be new to the sector, new to it as a career or new to the area. And then if you see the project in two halves, if you like, so that will all be happening in the background over the 3 years, but everything will culminate in a new type of multi-arts festival programming that will be across maybe 6 weeks, we imagine, in the summertime of 2027. And that will happen because we have defined specific art form leads and commissioning panels as part of them that will be leading it. So a bit more detail is that the project will be focusing on new partnership models and ways of working and what collaboration looks and feels like for Fenland. That cultural leadership thing, so the organisations are better developed, but so are the people that are leading them. And also that new type of multi-art festival production, which already happens really well. I'll try and talk over the plane. I'll have a quick drink then while it goes away. But essentially, the ambition for this change and what the Arts Council look for in a project like this is a step change, and at the end of it, there is a difference that means that there's something that is lasting change brought about by this work. And for this, it's that there is going to be, we hope, and we are aiming for, a better, more unified approach to culture. Organisations and their leaders feeling more resilient, better resourced, more energised, more willing to work together. And it's huge. It's been an extremely significant piece of work in the background for a really long time. And it's only been possible because of lots of collaboration from partners across all different organisations and also in voluntary positions across the district, and significant support from Arts Council, following them supporting the district council with the strategy and my role, and then going on to this route. So it's taken us a long time to get here, but we have now reached this point, and it is a great opportunity to do something really exciting. But it's yet to fully begin. So we had a 12-week decision-making period that was extended, and that meant that we were further behind of the action plan and the work plan starting when it was meant to. So we've been able to bring partners together once since the news was kind of brought out to us. We have got some intensive work days planned next week with the strategic group and also the delivery leads, so those kind of specialised art form subject leads that will be taking each of those on. And that is the first time really that they're going to be properly working together, and it will properly begin. And the lead partner, Clarion Futures, are preparing a funding announcement so that press release is going out and all of those things are in sort of happening but yet to be properly published. So it's not kind of worldwide news, if you like, at the moment, but it is kind of underway. And because of that, the strategic steering group that are kind of the management of the project, if you like, below the lead partner, and then the art form delivery leads, they really need to get their heads around what it is they're going to be doing before we then start reaching out to potential partners in terms of locations and what the work plan of that is going to look like. So it's been funded, it is going to happen, but we're right on the cusp of getting around the table and starting to get on with it at the moment.
So what is going to be your first project then once you get everything together?
A few different things, essentially. So the first half of it, the cultural leadership development and all of that that's going to be happening underneath is...
I didn't mean that. I mean, what projects are actually going to come so we can see it, like festival? What are you actually going to do when you get all this together? What's going to be the end product?
Public-facing stuff, things that are going to be really visible to the community, will start to happen in 2026. So there is budget for testing of new types of programming to happen at existing festivals and activities in 2026.
I want to know when we get to it, are we going to have a festival? Are we going to have this, that? You know what I'm saying? This is what I want to know. I want to get to the nitty-gritty of it, you know?
Yeah, so that is within the plan, so that 2026 includes budget to work with partners at existing events and festivals to begin testing new types of programme at those in readiness for this new type of landscape-wide, multi-art, much more prolonged festival-type programming that doesn't normally happen here, which will be summer 2027. And then from this point until then, all of that underneath background work in terms of sending cultural leaders on types of training and programming will all be happening.
So I take from that there isn't actually a festival planned at the moment. You're just getting the infrastructure. There's no end product at this yet.
The idea is that the end project will be a public type festival in 2027 until the group. So it's landscape wide. The group is yet to decide what they want to do until they start meeting together. But they might imagine that lots of things are happening in lots of different areas of the district over a 6-week period that are all attached to one thing.
Sorry, just one more point, please.
Okay, we've got lots of people that want to speak. So Councillor French has had a hand up for a while. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let Carol come in just to explain something, and then okay.
So I mean, we've heard a lot over the last 2 or 3 committees about we're doing this, putting this structure. That's right. What we want to see is an end product. That's what we want, you know. And there seems to be a lot of infrastructure going on with sorting this out, sorting that out, and what have you. But there's nothing coming out at the end of it.
Thank you, Councillor Hicks. Shall I let Carol come in and then, yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. I think when it comes to the Arts Council funding, it feels like it's been a very long time coming, doesn't it? Because there's been an immense amount of consultation, planning, filling in application forms, liaising with the Arts Council. And as Councillor Senniclough knows, because you've applied for a lot of grants in the past, that is an extremely time-consuming process. So there's many, many sort of hoops that you have to jump through to get to this fantastic stage where we're looking at nearly £500,000 of investment in the area that could potentially double with all the opportunities within the bid. As you probably know as well, Councillor Hicks, because I know you're involved in the cultural scene, when you're putting your bid together, you're not giving very specific examples of, I want to deliver this festival and that festival. You're giving some aims and objectives of how you want to spend the money, and then the initial 3 months after you've received the money is again often another planning stage of ensuring you've got the right organisations in the right place with the right training to make sure that then you can then deliver on the projects. So I think we're all really keen to see the end product, but we need to remind ourselves that Fenland's a priority place for a reason, and it's because we don't have that infrastructure in place. We have a number of excellent organisations and artists and advocates, and we've got a number of those round this table, but there needs to be that little bit of investment before we can actually then do some showcasing to the public on that grander scale, because we've never had those stepping stones in place. So through the Culture Partnership, of which we have representation, I think through you, Elizabeth, and perhaps Councillor Hoy now, she's the culture portfolio holder, that planning stage has Fenland member input, which will then come up with a much more detailed plan, which is what we all want to see, which we'll be able to then put our hands on and know that's what's actually going to be delivered in the 3-year period. So I absolutely get your keenness to know what's going to happen in reality, because we don't want all the money swallowed up with things the public don't see. But what the funding is trying to deliver is a legacy, so that when the money's run out, we will have a group of people, a group of organisations that can take this forward independent of further funding. So I think we all share your enthusiasm to want to see things delivered on the ground that people can see. There's just a little bit more planning to execute that within the 3-year funding bid. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Carol.
Have you got any idea when this is going to actually come? Have you got a timescale when you think, yes, I'm going to deliver a project round about this sort of date? Give us a ballpark in time when the actual first project will take place.
Thank you, Councillor Hicks. Jamie Lee?
Yeah, so like I say, the two halves of the project, second one of those, if you like, being the more festival themed one, testing at existing Fenland events and festivals in the summer of 2026, and across the 4 Seasons programme of 2026, we'll start to see programming as a result of this fund being taken place there, with then the much larger landscape-wide, totally innovative new type of ways of working we're aiming to achieve will be summer of 2027. That is one half of the project. The first half, and the bit in terms of the cultural strategy, which is really exciting, is that underneath cultural leadership development. So that, if you like, is happening as of Monday. When I get all the partners together in a room, we've got 2 entire days, we'll be going through facilitated sessions, working out how are they going to design this as a partner leading on the project. So this, as I say, is Clarion Futures led. I'm a part of the project in terms of supporting it, and then there's a consortium of 12 partners who have all got their role to play in it as well. So it's about how they want to design it as well, and co-producing as much as we can too along the way.
Thank you, Jamie Lee. I'm going to bring in Councillor French, but just so that we know, because we've got 2 new members of the committee, and actually I don't know who the 12 partners are. If you could name them, please.
Okay, thank you. So Clarion Futures is the lead partner, so they are leading. That means that they are ultimately responsible for monitoring and reporting, but they're also investing in the project and kind of supporting it quite significantly in terms of administration as well. We then have Marketplace Arts, focusing on as a strategic steering group member, but also as the lead for the community programming. 2020 Productions, as a strategic steering group member, but also as the children and young people specialist. The Queen Mary Centre as a delivery group infrastructure, so thinking about venue spaces. Wisbech and Fenland Museum as a heritage and museums art form delivery lead. Blackfield Creatives as a visual arts delivery lead. The CP Learning Trust as the leadership, the skills, the training, the learning lead. New International Encounter Theatre as the delivery group performance lead in conjunction with also the Angles Theatre and Gorilla Circus, one of our MPOs. And then also the Library Presents are involved when it comes to putting on programming and commissioning work as well.
Thank you, Jamie Lee. Councillor French.
I've got quite a number of questions. I'd like, I didn't catch all these 12 partnerships. You were rather quick, but no doubt it will be minuted so we know who they are. You mentioned Gorilla Circus. My understanding, they don't exist. So if you can just correct me if I'm wrong on there. The first question I'd like to ask, you say in the beginning of your presentation, 19 organisations were successful and you had £55,000 and they got £2,000 each. That's only 38,000. So you've got a surplus there of £7,000.
Thank you, Councillor French. Jamie Lee.
I apologise, I think that's just a bit of a misunderstanding. So in round one of the Fenland Culture Fund, there was 42 applications made, 19 of those were successful, and they had a share of £34,000. They're up to £2,000 each. Sometimes people might only apply for £200. It depends on what they need. And then in the second round of the Culture Fund, we had 55 applications in total. 35 were granted successful, and that was a total of just over £55,000. But again, some people went for the full £2,000 amount. Some people might have only needed a few hundred, or some people go right down to the penny of exactly is what they're looking for.
Thank you. Yeah, Councillor French.
Yeah. So you've got 19 successful. Can we have a list of the people who were successful? Also, you were saying the places that you go. Have you thought of going to the Golden Age fairs? Because you will pick up a lot of people there.
Thank you, Councillor French. I actually sat on the panel for those grants, and the one thing that I will say is that I was really pleased that I didn't sit on the panel before, so I don't know about the first round, but the second round they were all Fenland organisations or individuals, and it was published. It may still be on the Fenland District Council website. Is that right, Tony?
Yeah, exactly. So just to confirm yourself, as round two, and in round one, all of the grants were signed off by Councillor Seaton as portfolio holder at that point. Both the round one press release and the round two press release are on the website, and they have within them a full list of everyone that was granted with their names and kind of a bit of an introduction to what the projects are. But I'm happy to resend it out on a whole list if that's easier as well.
Thank you, Councillor French.
You also stated that you would be working with Four Seasons. Well, I'm the March chairman for March events, and I would like to be informed. I received an email some time ago to say that, trying to think of what the name was, Marketplace Ads were taking control of that. No, they certainly were not. I'm the chairman. They took control of the marketplace. So make it crystal clear, if you're involving yourself with Four Seasons, that you actually speak to the towns and the chairman who are actually involved with this, and don't try and take control.
Thank you, Councillor French. I think that's just. Okay, Councillor Hicks.
I might need to make a declaration because I didn't realise that they were on the list. Both me and my daughter have worked with Marketplace and 2020 Productions. I just want to put that on record, please.
Councillor Hicks. Thank you, Councillor French, for your point there. I also had a concern that there might be some duplication there as well, but we'll come on to that. If you'd like to respond to Councillor French first. So Councillor French's point was about she's the chair of the Four Seasons for March Town Council and has had no communication whatsoever.
Okay, yeah. So to this point, as Carol said, it's kind of what we would like to do. It's nothing is defined yet. We don't know exactly where this is going to go, but of course, what we've set out to do, we hope is what happens. Isabel Edgington, as an officer, being involved in the Four Seasons is our kind of connection and has been involved in the bid from very early days. We want to be able to be confident in knowing what we're going to be able to offer and bring to those festivals and be able to know that that's going to be possible. So as soon as we have that, then absolutely everyone that might be available is going to be able to be a part of it.
Would you like to come back, Councillor French?
Yes, please. Yes, I realise that Isabel is heavily involved in this, but at the end of the day, I have a committee, I'm the chairman, and anything needs to come back. I mean, you're saying you're trying to organise a festival like Councillor Hicks said. You know, we need to know what you're planning, because we start to plan our Christmas market and St George's Fair well in advance. Now, if you're going to help successfully with some funding, we'd like to know that, because one of the biggest costs that we have is road closures and overtime staff for these events. So, you know, I'd be interested to see how much you're prepared to put into these events. At this time, under the Four Seasons, I believe we only get £2,000. We have to get the funding elsewhere. So it would be useful sooner rather than later. And as I say, anything, it certainly won't happen what happened this year at St George's in April, that the marketplace was taken over and we lost our car parking, our actual car parks for 3 days because they did not take the dome down or the concrete blocks away, and that will not happen again.
Thank you, Councillor French. I think it's really key here that we're working together and that elected members are kept informed. I know that you're very good at keeping me informed, but other officers certainly need to talk to representatives in the various town and parish councils. Does anyone else have, before I come in on some other points, Councillor Hicks?
I'm going to rewind to part one of your thing about these boxes, the art boxes. Just for clarification for myself and for the people watching on YouTube, I take it these boxes, are they actually boxes full of craft things, or are they boxes what they paint? Because we've got a shop in town which is funded as well, which actually paint the boxes. If you do just have to clarify that for me, please.
Thank you, Councillor Hicks. Jamie Lee, would you like to respond?
Yep, okay. So for the Express Yourself Art in a Box, the Whittlesea project, they are actual boxes, kind of about A4, stand probably that tall, and they come prepared by artists with all of the tools that you need, the materials you would need to do a specific type of project. They have within them a bit of a booklet that has to include things about the funder and the purpose of the project, but also QR code, so it takes you to watch a video where the artist is kind of giving you a tutorial, talking you through the project. And then the idea is that you would take that away, you might have a go at that at home over a few weeks, decide, actually, I really love this, and then sign up to go and do one of the workshops in town. And there are 6 different artists working on 5 different types of art forms, so all the boxes are really different as well, from something that is really drawing specialised to things that are around textiles, to journaling. There's a real mix of the types of things you can get involved in.
Thank you, Jamie Lee. Councillor French?
I'm just a bit concerned about the funding, and I understand you've got the 425,000 and you're going for another grant for over 800,000. And I'm not sure how that's going to be divided if you've got 12 partners, but you've also got a partner which is Marketplace, and I know they've just recently changed the name. Now, few years ago they got £7 million. So how is that coming about? I know they did spend some money this year in March, and then you've got 2020 who got £2 million over 5 years. So your partners seem to have a lot of their own money. So can you tell me how this is going to be divvied up?
Thank you, Councillor French. Jamie Lee?
Thank you. So yes, you're right in that the Arts Council grant is 420,000, and then the project as a whole, the expected income includes cash contributions from all of the partners that they're expected to make across the 3 years, in-kind support from them all, but also targets. So there's budget within this to employ fundraiser, and they have sponsorship targets without to raise money in additionally. We don't know what those grants are going to be yet until that fundraiser is in place and decides what it is that we're going to be trying to achieve together. And there are also expected box office income as well. So some of these events we might be selling tickets for, and some of these events we might be earning money through other ways. So all of this is an expected budget that is within that Arts Council bid. The grant of 420,000 is confirmed, and Clarion Futures have been successful in kind of achieving that. And then some of that further income is confirmed through partners and what they're going to contribute, but some of that is still what is expected.
Thank you, Jamie Lee.
So, so when are we likely to see some kind of budget? Who's going to put what in?
Jamie Lee?
A budget exists with the application that was submitted and approved by an Arts Council. It does exist. So Fenland District Council's only involvement in the project kind of as a partner is through my role supporting it. That's the contribution as a council we've made and was agreed. And then the other partners, sometimes they have accepted that they will be able to contribute, for example, £2,000 here, some are £30,000 here, and that's what they've been able to say that they'll be able to do.
Thank you. But we'd like to see something. We want to see some figures. It's okay to say they might do this. Let's see something on paper. And if this committee is going to be successful, we need to see budgets. We need to see how it's actually going to proceed.
French, thank you for that. I wonder at this point whether I think Jamie Lee, as our representative, as the culture officer, if you could speak to the 12 partners and Clarion as well, and if we could get updates, say every 3 months or so, if that's possible, if that works, either 3 months or 6 months, because I think it's really important that this Culture, Arts and Heritage Committee are not excluded from discussions, and also that point, and I realise that you're the only one here, so everything's getting heaped on you, but if they could actually talk to people like Councillor French, who is the chair in March, and of the Four Seasons, and so we're all working together. That would be appreciated. Thank you. Councillor Hicks.
Also with specific figures, not just it'll be around £2,000 or whatever. It has to be an exact amount, so we know in black and white.
So if you could, thank you, Councillor Hicks, take this feedback to them, that would be really appreciated. And because I think that in the past, and I mean this is minuted, it's been recorded, when Marketplace first came here in their previous incarnation, and they showed a slide of them delivering in Whittlesea, and they hadn't actually delivered in Whittlesea in that funding period. There's a lot of scepticism, which is understandable from members, because we're here representing the public, and we want, we're scrutineers as well, and we just want some accountability. And it's not obviously just Marketplace, but all of the 12 partners, and we just want to see that it's not just a talking shop, that residents are going to benefit from the delivery of actually in-person activities. So thank you. Carol would like to come in now.
I think what would be really helpful as well to bring this to life is within the funding bids, there would have been the 3-year programme sort of outlined at a very high level. I wonder if it would be useful to circulate that to the committee as well. So, and we perhaps should have done that beforehand. So apologies, I've only just thought of that now. So you can see the high-level roadmap of between now and March 2028, recognising the next 3 months is going to bring that very much to life. And in 3 months' time, through the participation of Councillor Senecal, Councillor Hoy, and perhaps other members through different hats, I think there'll be something much more tangible that we'll be able to visualise in our minds that's going to happen. So I think, Jamie Lee, if we can dig that out, I think that would perhaps help committee members, if that's what you would like.
No, Councillor Hicks, go ahead.
Also, when they apply for these funding, I've been involved myself with different funding for arts projects, and also make sure that when they've been successful in a bid, that after the event, that they give a set of accounts to make sure that money's been spent responsibly. So not only do, like for instance, oh, the tickets are going to cost this much, the venue's going to cost this much, so and so, that's to get your bid. But after the event, to make sure that, A, there's no money left over, so it should come back to you, but there should be a paper trail after the event's done to make sure they've spent all the money and they've spent it wisely.
Thank you, Councillor Hicks. Jamie Lee, would you like to respond to Councillor Hicks, please?
Completely agree. The fact that a significant portion of this is Arts Council funded means that there is going to be a significant reporting responsibility already. So they are very kind of strict's not the word, but they're very kind of sure of what they're reporting on, and they work through payment conditions. So you have to submit what it is that you've achieved before you then get the next portion of the money and the next portion of the money. And because, sorry, do you want to come in?
Is there something in place afterwards to make sure, I mean, it's all right beforehand when they're applying, but is there a process involved for another set of paperwork afterwards to make sure that first round's been spent correctly?
Are we back on the Fenland Culture Fund now, the small grants? Yeah, okay, so that does have a feedback form. So all of the people that are successful with that, they are kind of expected to respond to that, to tell us what happened, what they spent on, if there was any difference in their budget and expenditure to which it was when they applied. They're supposed to send photographs and videos and tell us who engaged with their project and everything that they did, and that is reported on afterwards.
Supposed to is a very woolly word. Does that actually mean they do it, or they don't do it, or they're supposed to do it and they do it, or they don't do it?
That's probably just my language, and I apologise, but they do. So it's for everyone from round one has done it, and then when we launched round two, there was an in-person event. So those people had already completed their forms and told us what they'd done, because they might have done their project or their exhibition or whatever it was months ago, but they come back and they told about it to the whole group, and all the members were invited and everything. And then for round two, because those grants were made in February, already there's been kind of nudges for those people, because some people's project hasn't finished yet. If they're an ongoing thing, some people's have, so they get back to you really quickly. So it's kind of just an ongoing piece of work for me to be continually making sure that those successful grantees are keeping us in the loop. And often they do, because they want to tell us what they're doing, because they want us to promote it as a council, or they want to let people know that this thing is on that they can go and experience. So generally we're in the loop. There has been one or two that go a little bit quiet, but I stay in touch with them and make sure the project's still going ahead. How's it going on? Do they need some support? And then you usually find that the form's completed and it comes back over.
Thank you, Jamie Lee. I'd just like to return to your update, and about, for the benefit of Councillor French and Councillor Barber, who are new to the committee, and how the Fenland Culture Partnership then had two, for want of a better phrase, subgroups. The one was communications and one was health. And those boxes that were discussed were part of the health group's initiative. And as Councillor Nawaz was a big part of that, sadly he's left, his idea was to bring it to Whittlesea. But while we were discussing Whittlesea, given that I'm also a district councillor there, did you, my question is, did you actually go into the assisted living facilities, engage with those, the names that I sent you? I wondered if there was an update with regard to that.
So I'm not delivering that project. We've funded it through the Shared Prosperity Fund, and then it's being delivered by that partnership. So they've had the suggestions. Whether they've taken them, I couldn't tell you at the moment here.
Thank you. And do you have an update on the other group, the communications group, and what they're delivering, and what detailed update at the moment, please?
Yep. So the section I spoke through earlier of those training workshops were part of that subgroup. So that was their equivalent project, if you like. At the latest Fenland Culture Partnership, which I know you had to send apologies for, and the minutes haven't gone out yet, I'm still working on those. But that group, the partnership is deciding basically whether that group is going to continue to meet, and does all the members of that still want to meet. So that's a little bit kind of under decision making at the moment, going forward. But the project that they delivered was that series of workshops.
Thank you. It was sort of future work that I was really referring to, but I can understand that that's all up in the air at the moment. So does anybody else have any questions on the update, on the Culture and Creativity Officer update? Okay, thank you. So I'd like to move on then to agenda item 8, which is the competition for a flag for the Fens. So a proposed competition framework has been sent to the Flag Institute for their views, and they have written back to me to confirm receipt. I was hoping to bring it today, but that they're still considering it. We're still in discussions with them, and so I'll update the committee at the next meeting when the details have been finalised. So unless anyone has any points to make on that, I'll move on to agenda item 9, which is the Fenland Poet Laureate Awards. And Jamie Lee and I have had some discussion about the Fenland Poet Laureate Awards. A suggestion put forward by last year's laureate was about creating a folder of events for throughout the year for the laureate to attend. Because otherwise, if they're not familiar with, say, for example, the Four Seasons events and various Christmas light switch-ons and things, and all the dates of those, then they could quite easily slip through the net and not attend anything. And we want to get the most out of our laureates, and they obviously want to engage as well. And so I wanted to invite the committee's views on that, first of all, about putting together a folder of events. And if you have any specific events that you think would work really nicely with that role, then to put your ideas forward either now or at a later stage. So French.
Yeah, I think your catalogue would be a great. It's a shame it wasn't done before, because all the towns have had a BA Day celebrations, which were most of the towns and villages were successful. But yeah, I welcome that idea.
Thank you, Councillor French. Councillor Hicks.
Yeah, it'd be really nice if we could get the poet laureates to attend a lot of these events and read some poetry out and stuff like that. That's the idea of the thing, isn't it? To make sure that happens.
Absolutely, and to write a poem for an event specifically, which did happen with last year's laureate Hannah. She was really good, but she brought this idea forward because she was struggling with not knowing when events are, and bearing in mind that Hannah was the first Fenland Poet Laureate to work in conjunction with Fenland District Council. Before then, I was running it myself. So we learn as we go on, and I think we'll take Hannah's idea on board and we'll create a folder of events.
Also, you could not only put that folder together, but also actively email them to know when there's an event coming up as well, because people don't always look at this folder, make that a thing that, we've got this coming up, so they're well aware of it as well as the folder.
Well, I will certainly, thank you, Councillor Hicks, put the folder together and give them a copy, and where possible, time consuming. It can be, obviously, but I mean, I think part of the role of the laureate is they want to attend these events, and I think, they'll go, and I think there is scope for discussion, for communication between, quite clearly probably couldn't attend every event, but certainly the ones that they could attend, I could have a role there in communicating with the relevant partners, making sure that they're aware of the laureate and the laureate's willingness to attend and such. So thank you for your suggestion. Now, on to a slightly more negative point concerning the laureates. Some of us have received written and verbal complaints from residents over the fact that the last two winners, including this year's laureate, do not reside in Fenland. And it has been suggested that the rules of the competition change from live, work or learn in Fenland to just simply live or learn in Fenland. We discussed this previously, but as we have some new members on the committee now, I'd like to invite people's views on this change of rule. French.
Thank you. It's a bit like a councillor. You can live, work, reside. No difference. Assuming that they had some connection with Finland, did they? Have they?
Thank you, Councillor French. Yeah, absolutely. I think it certainly wasn't an issue. It's a bit early in the year this year, but it certainly wasn't an issue for Hannah. Hannah had lived in, I think it was Doddington, had to move to Ely, but she had a connection to Fenland, and the distance from Ely over here didn't seem to pose a problem in terms of her attending events. So, any other thoughts on that?
Ely's in Fenland anyway.
Ely is in the Fens, not in the administrative district of Fenland. Councillor Barber.
Is it just the working in that the people don't like?
It has been said to me that somebody could work here for a day in a year and then say that they're, you know, they qualify as a laureate. But I think possibly we don't have laureates coming out of arrears or people applying to be laureate coming out of arrears. So I think that might have been a bit optimistic, that point. So back.
Yeah, I just think if people are working in the Fenland, then they're spending quite a lot of their life in Fenland. A working day is a long time, isn't it? I think that should still be included.
Thank you, good point. Councillor French, and then I'll continue.
I'm not asking to tell us who it was, but you've obviously got a complaint. Can you tell us what the actual complaint was? Or is it just the fact they didn't live in Finland?
So yeah, the complaints were about people not living in Fenland, and therefore there seemed to be a belief that they would not be able to represent Fenland as well as somebody who is residing within the administrative district.
I'm going to be careful what I say here. The people who were complaining, were the fact that they were up for the award and didn't get the award? Was it a little bit of, I don't know.
Sour grapes?
No, absolutely not. As far as I know, I mean, the entries are anonymised, but as far as I'm aware, it wasn't somebody that was unsuccessful in the awards. Councillor Person.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I've got a comment to make and a question, but Councillor French has already asked the question about who the complaints were made from. Another committee that I'm actually on, we have criteria in the fact that it's not a matter that they live in that area or go, it's basically a school thing. They say it's not a matter of they've been there for one day. They have to live there for a certain amount of time, like 4 or 5 years, to kind of prove their heart is actually in the place. And I think that's an important little issue to actually have in there as well, really. That's my thoughts on that one.
Thank you, Councillor Purser. Councillor Hicks.
I think this is going to be absolutely impossible to police. You can't police this. It's going to be...
That's good.
Well, who's going to check all the forms, make sure that information's kosher? I mean, if they're in it to win it, they're good. They could do it. I mean, the only way is to leave it as is, really, isn't it?
this kind of provides a nice segue into my other point, which is about the sheet of additional information that we had last year. So when, do you remember Hack's fish and chips statement and everything? I actually go back to that now because I think he was actually onto something when he said that the accompanying statement, if you leave that out, it's like having fish without the chips. And we all laughed and he got the giggles and had to leave the room. But what I'm thinking now in hindsight is that's a kind of, it sets out what they want to do and they can actually refer back to that throughout the year and use it in conjunction with a folder of dates. So I think I'd like to go back to requesting that we have that paragraph or so of an accompanying statement about if they were to win, what would they do throughout their year? What do members think of that idea? I think we will return to that with the entry so that they provide an accompanying statement about what they'd like to do or achieve as laureate. Councillor Person.
Yes, thanks, Manager. Yeah, I mean, I'd actually come to the meeting with some specific criteria and the likes in my mind before I got here. But having said that, having listened to what Councillor Hicks said about policing it, I think it's absolutely right. You know, how do you actually police it like that? I thought I'd like to concur with that, really.
Thank you, Councillor Person. I think by having more information, the accompanying statement, it sort of helps in a way, not policing where they live, but how keen they are and how serious they are, because if they don't want to sit there and write the accompanying statement, then they're perhaps not that serious about the role. So I think that will definitely help with that. Any other points on that agenda item? Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask, being new here, does anybody go into the schools and ask the pupils, tell the pupils about the laureate awards and suggest that they might enter?
Councillor Barber, I contact all the schools and specifically the English departments, and I can't remember how many years I've been doing this now, but generally I have to say that the responses are very low, and I keep banging on doors and unfortunately not getting very many responses at all. When children have entered, it's usually because I've had some connection to the family or the school that has prompted them to enter. So unfortunately, the schools, I think that they might just think, oh, it's extra work or something, and not really want to engage. So if anyone's got any ideas of how to, I'd like to get more engagement from the schools, because obviously a lot of the schools do stuff around National Poetry Day, and poetry is on the GCSE curriculum. So if anyone's got any ideas about how to actually get the schools involved, Councillor French.
Thank you. No, it's not an idea. Last year, not this year, for St George's Day, we invited all the schools in March to enter a writing competition, and we only had one school enter, and I think it was about six children. But that was only the fact that one of them was actually a part-time counsellor, but she was also a teacher at that school. So the schools really are just not interested in getting involved. And it's when we put singing and things like that, it's very, very difficult to get because teachers don't have the time.
I concur. That's exactly my experience. But it's something to think about, and it's supposed to be something to discuss at a later stage, and perhaps come up with an idea of maybe going through the town and parish councils, and might be a way in if they have links to the schools. Certainly, I actually emailed as well every single, obviously district councillors new, but every single parish councillor, and I have to say the vast majority of those I didn't even get a response from either. But you can only do so much. But anyway, if there's nothing else to, it's a really good point, Councillor Barber, about the schools. But if we nothing else to discuss on this agenda item, we'll go on to agenda item 10. And do we have any other items of business to discuss? There being no other items or further information to discuss, this marks the end of the meeting, and I declare the meeting closed. Thank you.